Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
Scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
What up? Happy Friday, everybody. We are so back. Holy crap, are we back, chat? We are back. Wow. Okay, well, I had like this whole Friday stream planned where we were going to go through this whistleblower 4chan guy from like a week ago. And then all of a sudden, this Salvatore Pais interview drops with Jesse Michaels. I'm getting shout outs. I start watching it and I'm like, man, I can't even, if I had to like write down times that I wanted to review, it's basically the whole thing. And I realized right away, like, okay, we can do a whole live stream, maybe even more than one live stream on it. So I want to pretty much just get right into it because I want to give commentary and context to as much of the interview as possible. The more, thank you, Suddy. By the way, thank you, Suddy. Look at that. I just spent like 5 minutes trying to fix my hair. Thank you. Okay, I just want to give my thoughts right off the bat, is that watching it, I realized that I've been blessed in the people that I've been able to talk to just doing what I've been researching. Salvatore Pais was the first person that I interviewed, and he even mentions that. Like, it was like he mentions it like it was some big accolade for him. And I'm like, dude, being able to talk to Salvatore Pais was awesome. Even before I knew all about the science. And now that I understand what he's talking about when he explains it, I sit there and I'm like, oh, man. The mainstream people have no idea. Like, people off the street, no idea what Salvatore, they don't understand the significance of what Salvatore Pais is saying. They just don't get it. Even these, like, people who are, like, graduate and PhD level physicists don't really get it. They think it's pseudoscience. They're wrong. They're really wrong. So we are going to put the 4chan guy till Monday. We just don't have time. I was trying to figure out a way, like, can we talk about both? Can we talk about the one guy a little bit? We just don't have time for it. I even had a post ready to go that I was like, we're going to do the live stream about the 4chan guy. Because, guys, this 4chan guy, there's apparently, just for people who are confused, there's like 2 different 4chan like whistleblower people. One that came out after the egg video and one that came out before the egg video. And the one before the egg video is actually really interesting. Really interesting. I looked through the replies and I'm like, oh boy, okay. We got to review this. The one that came out after the egg video, kind of stupid. Kind of stupid. So don't worry, I've got the links. I'll probably put it in the Discord to review later. You guys can read yourself. I had to learn earlier today how 4chan works. I don't even know how 4chan works. I was like trying to figure out how do you check who's replying to who and what have you. But I got it figured out. I understand how 4chan works. Okay. One more thing. Let me look this up to see if I have this. I might have something for you. I don't have it yet. Okay. I want to deal with all the other topics before we jump right into this interview because it's good and I want to spend as much time on it as we can. So also before we do that, thank you to everybody who's in the chat right now, the early people in the chat. Hit the subscribe, hit the thumbs up, tell your friends about it. We're starting something new here. We're starting a new media empire, if you want to call it that. And at some point, we will branch out. We might be the first company that branches out from media to free energy devices, to energy. We might, we're like basically the archetype in Dungeons and Dragons that like nobody picks right now. It's like, okay, we do a little bit of social media influencing, make people think about 0-point energy a little bit and cold fusion, and then we'll produce some devices. So if you're interested in merch, by the way, guys, I'm a mogul. I'm a young mogul. You didn't know that about me? I'm influencing, I'm doing science things. And by the way, I'm a fashion designer now. Put it on the resume. Put it on the resume. You just thought I was just some IT guy or something like that? Mm-mm. 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 No, I'm into fashion now. Okay, let's get into this. No more messing around. No, we already got our brand too. 4 orbs. Like, if anybody ever just real quick, chat, real quick. If anybody ever like makes fun of you or like something comes along where like it just is a natural fit for you, you have to lean into it. So when people started saying like, oh, it's 4 orbs, like Ashton 4 orbs, it's not like I came up with that. People just start saying that, and next thing you know, now it's my slogan. Because you can't hide from something like that. You have to just own it. You have to be like, okay, yeah, it's kind of weird that my name like literally is 4 orbs, Ashton 4 orbs. So what do I do with it? Oh, I turn it into a brand. Turn it into a brand and sell T-shirts with it on it. And bonus, they're awesome. They're awesome. In fact, I need another one because my brother fucking stole mine. He stole it. Came over for the holidays, stole my T-shirt because he wanted to wear it because turns out it's also his last name as well. What a coincidence. Okay. Enough jokes. Let's get into this. I know you guys are here for the humor. Okay. So one more thing, and I wasn't even going to talk about this, but I'm like, okay, well, if I don't talk about this right now, then we're going to just completely forget. Which is this Jake Barber. Okay? This Jake Barber.
Okay.
We're back to egg disclosure, guys. Okay? So we're at the low point in the live stream. We're at egg disclosure. We've gone back to egg disclosure. Okay, let me set the stage for you. If you're new or not new to egg disclosure, basically Ross Coulthart just like threw up all over the backseat of the car. He hyped up this
what
guy.
You're saying also
Stop that. He hyped up this guy, and it ended up not being all that it was hyped up to be. He was like, "Oh, we're gonna have a UFO, crashed UFO. We're gonna get a video of a crashed UFO, and there's no proof that it's even a UFO. Like, it's just some egg-shaped thing being picked up, maybe by a helicopter, maybe." And it's like 10 seconds of video. Okay. So Deep State Ross is like one of those names where it's like, it sounds so good. You can't run away from him. Deep State Ross. Like, who's Ross Coulthart? Deep State Ross. Like, that's just his, like, you know, his pen name is his rap name. That's his rap name. Okay. Now that you understand the background, it turns out there was a bigger interview with the guy, a longer, non-sensationalized interview. Wait, let me go full screen. You did a full interview with this guy that's not sensationalized, and that for some reason not. So like, this just makes it worse. Like, okay, you did an interview with him and you were like, okay, let's chop that up and turn that into a sensationalized primetime Saturday night interview where we're going to hype it up into something that it's not. What the hell? That's like me taking the Salvatore Pais interview and chopping it up and like making something up about it, about how it like proves the videos are real and having this like produced content related to it, and then selling that and like getting like 1 million views because everyone watches it. That's crazy. That's so scummy. And turns out the full interview is actually a little bit crazier. It's even crazier than what they edited, but at the same time, he says this.
Actually, there is some kind of capacity to draw incredible amounts of energy from the quantum vacuum.
I've seen it.
You've seen it.
I've seen it.
There's also, obviously, the capacity to use propulsion systems that.
So, okay. Why is the follow-up like, hey, when and what context did you see the devices that are pulling energy from the vacuum? Is it okay? I'll let Ross finish because I want to rant, but go ahead.
That are far beyond what we're describing.
Yeah, that seems to be the case as well.
Anti-gravity.
Anti-gravity.
They know about it. Anti-gravity, zero-point energy. Implications of what you're saying also are that potentially.
Okay. So guys, let me help you out. So for my people in the audience right now who are blue-pilled as hell, my blue-pilled boys and girls out there, Ross Coulthart is deep state Ross. Right off the bat, I can already tell they've already had many pre-existing conversations, and that most of this interview is basically scripted out. Like, step 1, we're going to ask you this. Step 2, we're going to ask you this. Step 3, we're going to ask you this. At least if you are going to have a scripted interview, make it sound natural. Like if somebody tells you, hey, I've seen a free energy device that's pulling energy out of the quantum vacuum, first of all, you shouldn't lead them. You don't need to lead them to that. Just let them say it themselves. And then you should ask them a follow-up question. Like, okay, whose device did you see? When did you see it? Where did you see it? The fact that that's not the follow-up question right here is super weird. And then Ross Coulthart does his own, adds his own commentary here to the second half. So I'm going to play this one more time because there's so much to unpack in just a 30-second clip. And this is the reason why people are watching me. This is why I'm asking you now to like and subscribe. Because you know what? Fuck it. We're going to just get rid of these people. This garbage is going to go away. It's going to become obsolete. And we're going to start the new media. And if you're somebody out there who wants to be involved in media and you think you have an entertaining personality, but you can still educate people, then get in touch with me. Get in touch. Let's do it. I'm tired of this bullshit. Let's listen to this again.
There is some kind of capacity to draw incredible amounts of energy from
I've seen it.
The quantum vacuum.
I've seen it.
You've seen it.
I've seen it.
I've seen it. Where? When? I mean, come on, man. It's so obvious that, okay, you already know the answer. Because otherwise, that's the only question on anyone's mind watching that is where, when, what's the context? What was it? What did it look like?
There's also obviously.
And to say this, to follow up, it's oh, there's obviously this cover-up of zero-point energy. I mean, yes, there is. But why is Ross Coulthart saying this like it's obvious? Ross Coulthart, I've never heard Ross Coulthart say these words before. I don't think I've ever heard him say zero-point energy before. But now he's acting like he's the arbiter and the disclosure of zero-point energy.
The capacity to use propulsion systems that are far beyond what we're describing.
Yeah, that seems to be the case as well.
Anti-gravity.
Anti-gravity.
They know about it. Anti-gravity, zero-point energy. Implications of what.
Does anyone get the feeling like these guys are trying to steal the narrative? Am I being paranoid? Am I being paranoid, guys? Chat, it feels like they're trying to steal the narrative. It feels like we're like Alex Jones right now, but 100% correct. Alex Jones has been wrong a few times, but we're 100% correct. Also, beetles and bugs are using anti-gravity. I don't care if the community noted me. Fuck you. They're definitely not using bird flight. There's no way that the fucking fat roach bug is using conventional bird flight. 0% chance they're using anti-gravity. By the way, also, so basically we're like anti-Alex Jones, and they're trying to they're like, oh shit, he got one right. They're like, shit, this guy Ashton Forbes came out and he found a major conspiracy that's real. And shit, we gotta grab the narrative. Ross Coulthart's acting like he's been saying zero-point energy is the energy source for UFOs for years, but this is the first time I've ever heard him say it. And the fact that he's bringing this up and he won't talk to me about it when I'm I mean, guys, who is above me on the zero-point energy influencer list? I guess you could make an argument for Nassim Haramein. Who else? No one. No one. I look on social media. I don't see anyone talking about zero-point energy. It's just kind of weird. It's just kind of weird, and it feels, yeah. And Hal's probably the number one. I mean, obviously Hal's number one, but when it comes to influencing on social media, Hal's not really present, right? So I don't know. Pretty weird. Yeah, Greer. I mean, Greer is honestly probably, yeah, he's above me. So I'm maybe top 5. Maybe we're being generous. I don't know. But that's the thing, too, is that in this interview today, you're going to see, hopefully if I skip past it, I'll just tell you right now, Salvatore Pais says that Stephen Greer is mostly correct, that he agrees with Stephen Greer and thinks that it's weird that people have been attacking Stephen Greer. But it's not that weird. It's not weird at all. The reason why people are attacking Stephen Greer is he's attacking the technology and the money. He's going after the deep state people who've got the money, who've got the technology. So what are they going to do in response? They're going to ruin his life. They're going to get everyone to make up rumors about him. And they're going to make sure nobody listens to him and everybody calls him a grifter. And this is the next thing I want to say is, okay, I shared that video that I just showed you guys. And a lot of people were going, oh, you believe this person? They're not credible. And actually, I didn't see any of these comments, but I expected people to say, weren't you just shitting on this guy? No, I wasn't shitting on him at all. I never shat on Jake Barber. Go back and watch the live stream. Instead, I mean, I did say he has some Paku eyes, but he does. It's funny. It's a joke. Okay? But I was shitting on Ross Coulthart and the whole production of NewsNation did around the interview. I think you should interview whoever you want. But I don't think you should hype something up to be the next thing that it's not. That's the difference. That's the difference between what Ross Coulthart was doing and, you know, other stuff that's out there. So, if they had just shown the whole video, I would never have had any problem with the interview at all. But I probably would have made fun of them going in on the psionic stuff. But the 0-point energy aspect of it is the secret. And it feels like these guys are trying to grab this narrative and get in front of it because we've kind of figured it out at this point. And if you go anywhere on social media or anywhere where people are talking about it, you see people going, MH370 got zapped by orbs, 0-point energy, free energy devices. And you're seeing that not because of me, but because of you guys. It's you guys that are doing that. Do you guys realize that? It's you. I mean, sure, I have lots of views, but I'm just one person. It's all of you guys retweeting, sharing, talking about it. I see a lot of your guys' pings when I check Twitter. It's like people pinging you on stuff. Like that's you guys making that splash. It's the power of, you know, social media and human connections in this day and age that's doing it. So, okay. See, look at that. I spun that into a positive chat. We're having a good Friday night. Cheers, everybody. I'm not even drinking tonight. This is just coffee. Coffee with ice cream in it. Let's do some super chats. Arthur Jones, hang in there, brother. Keep up the good work. Wish you could get on the Danny Jones podcast. I can tell you're a new follower. I can tell you're a new follower. How does Ashton know that this is a new follower, guys? Nah, I don't think I'll be talking to Danny Jones again. I mean, he's okay. I wish him the best. I wish him the best, but man, I don't know. Maybe we'll look back one day and we'll laugh and it was all one big misunderstanding. But when you look at it from my perspective, it looks like somebody made a phone call and said to call in the hit job on this guy. That's what it looks like from my perspective. You know, that's how it looks like it played out. So if you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it. You know what? One more thing I'll say about this, because it has been a while, is that when this interview happened, this is the other context people won't remember, that the history will forget. Danny and Julian were hyping up this Danny Jones interview to be like the end of Ashton Forbes. They like literally hyped it up that way. Like, this interview is going to debunk Ashton, it's going to destroy Ashton. He's going to be done after this. Julian even had a video where he wore a green suit where he was just talking shit about me. Serious, 100% real. And then when it happened, like, I was there when it happened. I wouldn't remember anything like that. Some guys tried to debunk me, and I refuted every single one of their points in like 5 minutes. And that's how it plays out. So check it out if you want. I'm not offended by it, but I think that interview shows the power of psychological persuasion, where how something's presented to you versus how, if you just view the content objectively, how it actually plays out is a completely different thing. Because there was a lot of Danny Jones followers in the chat that day, because I watched in real time, as like they thought I was going to get destroyed, and they got more and more disappointed, realizing that never happens in the interview. And it goes to show this is the kind of hype that like you don't want to do, because there's huge backlash. So a lot of people tell me like, oh, I stopped following those guys because of that, because of the way they treated you. Because like, who does that to their guest? Nobody does that to their guest. I've been on tons of interviews. Nobody's ever done that. So anyway, whatever. It's fine. Dobby with a Throbby, my favorite user. Would you be mad if I got 4 orbs tatted on my shaft so my girlfriend could see my dark Ashton rising? This is barely appropriate for YouTube. Barely, chat. But if you use this kind of humor and mix your words up just right, you know what? We'll allow it. It's Friday night. Oh, I just did the conspiracy hand signal. Oh, shit. I don't know which thing I am now, but I'm probably Illuminati or Templars or something. Hopefully it's Yakuza. I would be Yakuza. That'd be dope. Arthur Jones. Besides SV40 promoter inside COVID vaccines being a hot topic. Oh, man, guys, you guys are going to get me banned. Thank you very much for this donation, by the way. I believe you hit the nail on the head for free energy, and they don't want to talk to you about because you'll receive too much attention. It does seem that way. Here's the thing, guys. I've never really been a conspiracy theory type person, but it does seem that way, that like the whole reason why they haven't wanted to talk to me is that it'll get too much attention. And there's not really a good way to just like immediately discredit me. I mean, they've tried, and I've kind of made it easy in some cases, but just being authentic is the best defense against being discredited. If you think someone's going to come after your reputation, then what you should do is just be as open and honest a human being as possible. Because people are fine with people making mistakes. That's what humans do. That's what humans do. So if somebody's going to try to take something you've said or done in the past out of context, the best thing you can do is provide as much context as possible to your life. Be like, hey, here's my life. Here it is. That's why Friday night, chat. The Friday night. And what am I doing? Hanging out with you guys. Talking about teleporting planes and orbs and, you know, maybe goblins. Maybe. Oh, yeah, sometimes whammy footage, sometimes secret spy surveillances, and sometimes potential doomsday weapons. But that's usually just a LARP. It's a LARP. When we do the doomsday weapon stuff, it is. Okay. So Avi Loeb interview is going to drop Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Avi Loeb interview. My people have looked at it. They've edited it. They've made clips and shorts. And I'm going to post, there's actually a trailer for it that's going to drop. I was hoping to get it before the end of tonight. If I do, before we drop the live stream, I'll premiere it here. Otherwise, I'll premiere it on my X channel, and then you can find it on all the YouTube or all the channels as well. You're not going to want to miss the Avi Loeb interview. It's going to be fire. They said it was great. They said it was very authentic, genuine conversation. It's not just your normal, like, hey, I'm a podcaster. Let me ask you what dark energy means. You know, it goes a little bit deeper than that. More of like, I basically challenge Avi Loeb on 0 point energy. You know, not in a respectful way, not in like a contentious way, just in like a, hey, can this be the answer? Why can't this be the answer? How do we dig into this? You know, what does this effect mean, etc. Avi Loeb brings up the Casimir effect himself. We talk about we nerd out and talk about aliens and what we think the answer is, and AI and all that stuff. Yeah, it was a great interview. I can't wait for it. So that's coming Sunday, 1 p.m. Mark your calendars. We should have it in there by tomorrow, early tomorrow. And apologies to John D'Souza. I'm pushing that interview back a week. Just got hung up. I've been so busy at work, guys. So busy. Okay. Deniable plausibility. Ashton, much love. You've teleported my heart. Oh, see, now this is how you hit on somebody, guys. I don't know if, you know, this is a man, woman, androgynous, but this is how you get to my heart. It's not food, it's physics. guys. See, like Roy gets it. Same with Roy. The key to Roy's heart is non-Newtonian physics. Okay, guys, we gotta stop messing around. Okay. Altermagnetism. I promised we would talk about altermagnetism, and I'm not going to break that promise, but we got bigger fish to fry. So we're going to take the shortcut to altermagnetism. Get excited. Here you go. Here's the shortcut. Okay. This article was written like today. Altermagnetism, third form of magnetism, could unlock superconductivity. Ooh, okay, neat. Very fancy. Okay, and then this is actually about like a December, like an article that came out like a month ago, maybe over 2 months ago, which is common in science. Science is very slow, or the public is very slow to pick up on science. But this was actually a topic that a lot of people have pinged me about. Thank you, Bernie. A lot of people have pinged me about, and I wanted to look into it a little bit more. So I read this article, and basically, this is what you need to understand, first of all, I think, is that when we talk about magnetism, what really is magnetism? It's an alignment of electron spins. So imagine all the atoms. Imagine, what's something I can show you? Imagine that this is a magnet, okay? Imagine this is a bar magnet, okay? We got a north and a south. And the reason why we have north and a south is because all the spins in the electrons and all the atoms is aligned. They're all aligned, like they're in rows. Imagine them just all perfectly in rows. And when they get in that alignment, it creates that powerful magnetic field. That's why if you chop the magnet in half, if you were to chop it in half, you will still have the north and the south on both magnets. The spins are aligned. So in altermagnetism, this new form of magnetism, basically the spins of the magnets presumably change and they twist throughout the magnet. So this can create zones where there's potentially more powerful magnetic effects or a cancellation of magnetic effects. So they say that there's also that the magnetic moment points in the opposite direction of its neighbor. So they might have the spins might be reversed or the opposite, basically. Let's see if anyone's fact checking me or if I can just act confident. Let's just keep acting confident. Nobody will ever fact check you if you're confident. Okay. In altermagnets, each unit is slightly twisted relative to the adjacent magnetic atom, resulting in properties similar to ferromagnetism. And then that was it. So that was bad. So because that was bad, I was like, okay, let's just ask AI. And honestly, I think we've gotten to the point where AI has advanced beyond like some of these garbage Newsweek articles or whatever that was that we were just looking at. How dare you, Roland? This is offensive to my people. This is like saying the N-word to a black person. This is if you say this to a physicist, this is just pure hatred. I should ban you for hatred. I'll let it go this time. But for future notice, when you say monopoles are impossible to a physicist, that's just like racism. It's exactly the same as racism. Okay. Anti-parallel spins. See, here you go. Anti-parallel spins. I was right. Fact checked true. Fact checked true by Ashton from Ashton. The magnetic moments in the altermagnet point the opposite direction to their neighbors. So basically, this is some kind of Frankenstein magnet. So basically, scientists went out there and they created some kind of Frankenstein magnet where sometimes it points this way, sometimes it points that way. And because they're all next to each other, it's creating super weird magnetic fields. Now, this is cool because it can have some interesting properties. And also because, damn, I didn't know we could do this. So we can pretty much engineer magnetism. We can engineer magnetism to do whatever we want within a metamaterial. Let me repeat that. Let's go full screen. This discovery is primarily huge, not just because it's new properties, but because it tells us we can engineer magnetism within a metamaterial to do probably whatever we want it to do. And if we want it to say cancel out, we can get magnetism to cancel out. That's great. Well, it turns out canceling out magnetism is like one of the big things we've been looking into in scalar physics that tells us we might be able to manipulate gravity. Zero net magnetization. The symmetry can cause results of structures with zero net magnetization. Now, that's very interesting. Time reversal symmetry breaking. Whenever people just say time reversal, I'm always in. I'm always excited when people bring up time reversal. We're talking about time travel? Okay, shit. We're making magnets that are time traveling magnets? Okay, I'm in. Negative time, whatever time you want. Applications, magnetic memory devices that are much faster, spintronics, information storage. Basically, whenever I read these things from Grok or from some AI, I assume the U.S. military has already had it for like 10 years, maybe 25 years. So any of this stuff, it's like positive future things. It's like, oh, okay, so the government, military, defense contractors, they've already had this for like a generation. Yeah, pretty much. If you want to know what the defense contractors have right now, then what you do is you go look in the things that the AI comes back and tells you, like, that's theoretical and it's theoretically possible, but not within the current accepted mainstream physics. If you see it say that, that basically means like we got that like 10 years ago. Like you're catching up. You're getting close to what we really have. Okay. So that was your crash course in ultramagnetism. I think it's pretty cool. If anyone else can find cool applications or anything else that it can create, like balls of plasma, let me know. Would love it. No, the magnets are not themselves racist. It's just, when people say there's no magnetic monopoles, I just say, then what is this? Then what is this right here? There's no magnetic monopoles, then what is this? What are those orbs if there's no magnetic monopoles? Just offensive. Okay, let's get into it, chat. It's time for the main course. Wait, let me make sure. Okay. Oh, one last thing. This is important. I'm going to scold you guys a little bit since you're my followers and haters, some of you. Just because you don't agree with one person on one thing doesn't mean everything they say is stupid or wrong or what have you. I'm going to have to keep repeating this, apparently, because some of y'all don't get it. Some of y'all can't behave. So I got to point out that, okay, you don't like Stephen Greer. You think that Stephen Greer dropped flares out of an airplane. You think that Stephen Greer's scamming people with CE5 in the desert. That doesn't mean everything he's saying is bullshit. You might say that, oh, well, the Jake Barber guy is got senpaku eyes. That doesn't mean everything he's saying is bullshit. You might disagree that you might think that the psychic powers thing is silly. That still doesn't mean that everything else he's saying is bullshit either. We might actually have to evolve past this idea of like tribalism, because I feel like that's rooted in tribalism, where it's like, oh, I need my hero to be 100% lockstep with my beliefs. But we shouldn't need to do that. We should be able to be friends with people we don't even agree with. You should be able to disagree with somebody on 99% of the stuff, but agree with them on 1% of things too, and still just be friends with them. I think we have to achieve that before we can even unlock this technology, because that's the only way I think we can get to a point where we won't have war. Where we won't have war and chaos and all this tribalism that we have. Okay. So I want to do the intro, even though I don't know how much of this we're going to get through, guys. Actually, you know what? Let's just start with the spice. Let's start with the juice. What am I even thinking here? I've got the whole interview queued up, but you guys are here for the good stuff, okay? So hit the like, hit the thumbs up. You're about to see it go down. Let's just start with the banger right off the bat, right?
You have spoken publicly with a guy named Ashton Forbes,
full screen,
who is a big proponent of these MH370 videos. And these are these videos where you see these 3 orbs and they seem to circle around. The MH370 is this Malaysian aircraft. It was on CNN for like, a couple of months. And it seemed like this civilian aircraft carrying passengers just disappeared in the Southeast Asian territory. And this guy, Ashton Forbes, took to Twitter maybe around a year ago saying he thinks this is man-made tech and that the craft was somehow teleported out of the sky. What do you think?
Don't forget Dave Rossi's 4th orb. That's why Ashton now goes by 4 orbs.
Interesting.
4 orbs. There must be 4 orbs. Remember the whole idea that once you open the black hole, what if there is a white hole? But the three orbs would have your 3 axes, hence your point of origin, but there must be a destination. So there must be a 4th orb.
You need negative mass rate.
There must be a 4th orb.
So you think this is?
It's not me. Dave Rossi came up with this idea that there must be a 4th orb. I think he's one right on the money. Dave Rossi is a very interesting engineer that should be looked into as well. So he's very smart.
Why would you
Brilliant.
teleport a commercial airplane, and where did the airplane end up? Is it the plot or the...
All I'm saying is when I saw that thing open up, I saw the Pais effect in action. And I told Ashton Forbes, that was his first podcast, Hard Troops podcast. I told him, this is the Pais effect. Oh my God.
So you think we have room temperature superconductivity?
Those orbs also speak to AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Oh man, Jesse, I don't know. Does he have a learning disability? Is Jesse autistic? I'm starting to wonder if he I feel like the questioner and the guy answering the questions are not on the same page in some of these conversations, to be perfectly honest with you. But yes, the orbs. It's like, you believe in superconductivity. He's like, dude, I'm telling you that I knew that those orbs were about to make a wormhole. You're asking me about superconductivity. Bro, we're so far past superconductivity right now. Like, oh, yes. Yes, superconductivity is real, but also, by the way, we can jam 3 balls of plasma together and zap a plane out of existence. So, yeah. And then Jesse's like, oh, well, why would they want to do that? Why would they want to teleport a plane? Dude, who gives a fuck why they wanted to teleport the plane? Y'all, some of y'all, this is where, this is the most triggering. If you want to trigger me, guys, then you keep asking me where the passengers went and why they teleported the plane. Bro, it's like, do I look like the United States government? Do I look like the Navy? Do I look like I can tell you why these sick, dark intelligence agency or Navy people, whoever committed this operation, can I tell you why they do the evil shit that they do? No, because I'm not an evil person. I would never do some shit like that. Unless you give me some orbs, then I'll teleport the shit out of some people. But I'm just saying, I don't have that power. I would never do anything like that. So, this is why it's like, you asked me to answer something where it's like, the best I can do is speculate. And I can tell you, there's 20 engineers on board. What more do you want, man? People are like, why are you teleporting the plane? Well, how about 20 engineers that are making microchips that are connected to U.S. aerospace and defense? If that bounces off of you, then you're not red-pilled enough yet for this conversation. 20 engineers, 8 of them are from China. They work for an American company. They're making tiny, tiny microchips for U.S. aerospace and defense. Oh, that's the answer. If that's not your reaction, then you're not ready for teleporting orbs and planes and cover-ups and shit like that. It's like, basically, if you're playing a video game and you get to that first boss, and that first boss is that hard one, where it's like it's trying to figure out if you're like an idiot noob, and like they got to send you back and redo like level 1 and 2 where you're like killing the hogs for 1 experience a piece. Some of those players, you just got to send them back, man, because they're not ready for like what comes after that. You know, it's the bar where it's like, okay, we got to figure out if this person's really ready for the prime time. And this is where this interview with Jesse makes me think, like, I don't know if he's really ready for the prime time. I think he's going to get there. He's going to get there, but I don't know if he's ready at the moment. Okay, you want another clip? Should we shoot another clip? But yes, like for the people knowing, like, yeah, going, yes, don't you feel validated? I mean, yeah, a little bit, but I've always known the stuff is real. And here's the thing I'll say about Sal. The spoiler for the Sal thing, this will just get some of my commentary out of the way anyway. He and I really do think very closely alike. Like, and it's not a matter of us influencing one another. We both just think very alike. When it comes to our perspective of this technology, where it comes from, and I didn't know this about him until I interviewed him again recently, we both think the same, basically, that yes, there can be aliens out there and aliens can have alien technology, but we can also have figured this technology out ourselves independently, which means what's the answer to the non-human intelligence question? Basically anything. Basically everything is on the table. And I know he's seen some shit as well. So he and I think very similar, and also in terms of like what's the way forward. It's not some simple here's disclosure. It's like we have to change as a species for this. We have to change as a species. Let me see if I had a couple donations. Oh, I think I've got more donations. Jesse's mind exploded when Sal confirmed MH370. I can't believe they even talked about it. So honestly, shout out to Jesse. Now I just shat on him, but huge shout out to Jesse. This interview is great. I was already like 10 minutes in, and I was already like, okay, this is awesome. But it's because Sal's awesome. You know, he's very smart. He's even smarter than he lets on to be as well. That's what I would say about Sal. Very smart guy. UK STEM lecture, 100% age. Agree with you. Thank you, Bruce Wayne. Appreciate you, brother. As Milk, thank you. A huge donation. I don't know if that's real money or soon that'll just be US dollars when Canada becomes the 51st state of the United States. I'm personally looking forward to it. I welcome Canadians into America. Your citizenship will have an asterisk on it compared to the other ones, but that will wear off after like a generation or so. Since I have been a child, I've had bad experiences somewhat similar to Chris Bledsoe and his family. Since discovering you and Sal, I've shifted my attention from ETs to zero-point energy. My sincerest thank yous to see you and Sal. Wow, God bless. Wow, thank you so much, Asmilk. That's such a nice thing to say. And I think that ETs are fine. There's nothing wrong with aliens, extraterrestrials, what have you. And understanding our place in the universe is super important. But to me, that's a religious question. That's a spiritual question. Is what do you believe about our place in the universe? There's no wrong answers to a religious and spiritual question. Everybody can believe different things. From the science perspective, the benefit of being interested in zero-point energy is that we can change the future. We can literally change our future. Our future has not been written. And we have the capability to... Zero-point energy represents technology that we would think of as 1,000 years more advanced than where we're at right now. But we can basically just leapfrog that gap in a generation or less, in a year. It can happen really quickly. And that's why it's so important what you and I and all of us are doing in bringing attention to zero-point energy. You could argue that being an influencer for zero-point energy is almost as important as writing the papers, because the papers have been out there and nobody's been paying attention to them. But zero-point energy will represent a change to our entire civilization. So thank you once again, Asmilk, and I'm wishing you the best. Thank you very much. Nobel Price. Vindication is a delicacy of perseverance. I'm not even concerned about being vindicated. I'm actually not. I mean, we will party because that's what you should do. You should party and you should celebrate. You should be a healthy individual. But I just want humanity to advance as fast as possible. Ideally, in my lifetime. As you can see, I'm still relatively young. I would like to be on this planet and not have gray old hairs and what have you and be super old before we get zero-point energy, free energy devices, and teleportation technology. Because we already know it existed 10 years ago. So what the hell are we waiting for here? What are we waiting for? Thank you, Noble. Appreciate you. Okay, next, I'm going to play a couple more clips because this kind of shortcuts our discussion as well. So, I mean, now you can see, I saw that clip and I went, wow. Now, I will say Jesse never messaged me about this or this being released or anything or that this was happening. I had no idea. So the clip that I just showed you, I had no idea that happened at all. I was like, oh, okay. Wow. Watched it play out and like, that's pretty interesting. Maybe they edited something out there in there. I have no idea. And there's more. It keeps going. I do want to play a couple other clips. So, I haven't posted a couple of these yet, but I'm going to. Let's do this one.
There's a resonance-based way
of fabrication
that's not based on material composition. That's not based on fabrication, method of fabrication, protocols, procedures.
Sure.
That's simple.
Interesting.
You don't want a nut to figure that out. That would be bad. That would be a bad day in hell or heaven, either way.
That clip is pretty wild because Missile Man, this guy hates us. I can see why he hates me now because he's probably just jealous. I can understand it. No disrespect. Now, I don't even feel bad. I don't even dislike him anymore. I just feel bad for him now. I might even unblock him, actually, just to troll him a little bit more. His name's Jake because Sal calls him Jake throughout this interview. Actually, pretty knowledgeable. He was asking, though, he was under this impression, I could tell right away from his response before that clip, that we need metamaterials to produce anti-gravity. We don't need metamaterials to produce anti-gravity. So that was Sal's response where he's saying, no, we don't need metamaterials. We don't have to be able to fuse things together at the atomic layer to produce these UFOs. He's going, what if it's just really easy? Like, what if we can make balls of plasma super, super easy? And now these balls of plasma, when jammed together, can rip through the fabric of reality. Yeah, with just frequencies and standing waves or lasers. What if we can do it even easier than lasers? Here's another video. Somebody asked where this video came from. It came from a secret source. Secret source chat. I have secret sources. So here is a, actually it was just in our Discord, I think. Somebody posted this in our Discord, so maybe somebody made this. This is a ball of plasma. Now, you can make these much bigger. This is just one somebody made in a tiny lab. And it's being made by lasers. So imagine you can do this, but you don't need the lasers. You can just do this with waves. And then they become trapped in this ball of plasma. Now you can move the ball of plasma around. That's probably what we're dealing with here. I don't want to act like I'm certain about it, because I'm not. But I'm just saying that's probably what we're dealing with. Okay, next clip. This is about...
Continue on with this trickle by trickle disclosure, this farce. Again, immaculate constipation. We'll get nowhere, absolutely nowhere.
Do you think that there are deeper programs than Immaculate Constellation? You think that's sort of...
I guarantee that Arrow will get nowhere in no time at all. So in other words, nothing will come of it again.
You should come with
They'll
me.
generate another great report that will say absolutely nothing.
Sal, I mean, I can't find anything to disagree with him on. Totally agree on Arrow. Arrow's not going to find anything. The UFO hearings were a joke. But the only thing I'd say is that he's a little harsh on the Immaculate Constellation. But if the Immaculate Constellation is real and they have all these videos, then show us the videos, man. What are we talking about? Why are you telling me about a system that has hundreds, if not thousands of videos, but you're not going to show me any of the videos of these UFOs the government's hiding? Show me the videos, man. So I agree with him on that front. And then one last clip. This one.
Like for us, everyone in this room to come together and with other people, bring together our minds to create in one thing about what Dr. Eric Weinstein is saying is that he thinks that the best of the best, the greatest physicists should be brought together to come up with these ideas. I think even Joe the plumber can contribute, given common sense and enough knowledge. As a matter of fact, look at Ashton Forbes. I'm completely surprised what he's been able to achieve in almost a year, studying this physics on his own. Look into his podcasts. This guy has come up quite a bit. He does not have a physics pedigree. Again, what if Joe the plumber comes up with the greatest physics idea of them all, whatever that may be? but one, again, that helps us come together as an Earth.
Inflate that ego, chat. Let's inflate that ego. Wow. Damn, that was fire. That was fire. Yeah, so now you can see let's just spice up the drama. Now I can tell why that Jack guy, the missile man guy, was so mad at me. Because man, he was probably so jealous after that. It's okay. He got some praises from Sal too during this interview. Okay, guys. So should we jump up to the interview? But yes, anybody can figure this out. The real message that Sal just said is like any of you guys can figure this out too. Ashton can figure this out. What's special about me? Nothing. Nothing special about me. 20 years in healthcare IT. Next thing I know, I'm a social media influencer for 0 Point Energy, a thing I didn't even think was real 2 years ago. I didn't even know 0 Point Energy was real 2 years ago, chat. And here we are, Friday night, hanging out, live streaming. Never thought I'd be a live streamer. Chris Peters, thank you very much. Why doesn't it let me put the heart in there? But thank you for that super chat. Appreciate you. Thank you, Jeremy. Hutchinson effect. Yeah, I've looked into it a little bit, but I'm not sure about the claims yet. But yeah, I think he could have been legit. Deniable plausibility. Did we just become best friends? I think so. And then Charisse, wow, huge chat, huge super chat. Thank you. Love Friday night with Java, physics, and 4 orbs. That's how we're rolling tonight, chat. That's how we're rolling. So, okay, let's get into some of this. You guys ready for some physics? Because basically, the reason why I love this interview is not because he shouts me out. The reason why I love this interview is because Salvatore Pais goes through all the physics. But I want to go through his background first.
Yes, my name is Salvatore Cesar Pais. I work for the United States Navy. I used to work for the United States Space Force. Let me say at this time that I come on this podcast
I'm gonna skip ahead
as a private base. The incident and certain things that to New York City, Queens boy, as they say, still say coffee and other things as well. Love New York Reuben. Oh my God, you know, from the Brooklyn belly, a relocation system. I went to Brooklyn, in Brooklyn, to one of the well-known high schools there was Brooklyn Technical High School, not as on the same level as Bronx High School of Science or Stuyvesant in Manhattan for Northrop Grumman Corporation. And
that's what I wanted right there, and I missed it. I wanted to hear him say Northrop Grumman. Here we go.
How should I say? Job at Northrop Grumman. Well, before then, I had a couple of stints in New York, Electronic Systems Associates, Cisco and Hennessy. But I was extremely fortunate to work for Northrop Grumman Corporation and Advanced Systems, Advanced Concepts, and one other things. And then I transitioned to.
He just tries to skip over that. You try to skip over what I just heard there, Sal. Hold on, let me play my clip. Advanced Systems at Northrop Grumman. Okay, so basically, like you listen to his career, he worked a couple other engineering jobs, which I didn't recognize the names. And then next thing you know, he's going to Northrop Grumman. He's working on advanced concepts. Advanced concepts. Guys, I'm going to teach you something else. One of the ways they hide this stuff is through mundane names like this. Advanced concepts? What does that mean? It's like next thing you know, you're in there and you're looking at a effing UFO. You got a UFO float and you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty advanced. It's like 1,000 years advanced. We just call it advanced concepts.
To the USPTO in at the time it was Alexandria, Virginia. They had moved from Crystal City, and then I was fortunate enough to come here, Navarre, and then certain things occurred, and I was fortunate to work for strategic systems programs at the Washington Navy Yard. And then
wait. Strategic systems for the Navy Yard? What does Sal do? Does anyone know what Sal really does? Like, it feels like he's way bigger shot than what the public understands. right? Like, you think he worked on Aegis? Like, because he can't talk about any of his work, right? But like, when you listen, I want, the reason why I played all this, I wanted to play out, like, you listen to this guy, you listen to his career, it's like Northrop Grumman, oh, Space Force, U.S. Navy. Now I'm working with NAVAIR, which is like the Navy's technical intelligence, whatever they are. And now he's got this. Let me hear him say it one more time. Probably not even doing it justice.
For Northrop Grumman Corporation and advanced systems, advanced concepts, and one other things. And then I transitioned to the USPTO at the time it was Alexandria, Virginia. They had moved from Crystal City, and then I was fortunate enough to come here, NAVAIR, and then certain things occurred, and I was fortunate to work for strategic systems programs at the Washington Navy Yard, and then I went for the Space Force, and then came back.
And so,
I mean, quite the career path. Exactly. So look at this. Jinx, you're not allowed to speak until, I don't know, somebody punches you or something. I don't know. Just, whatever.
in 2017, you're probably most known for these patents. The title of the patent just says a lot. Hybrid craft using an inertial mass modification device. How does one even get into a topic like that?
I was very interested. I've seen certain things as far as what has been shown on certain documentaries. And then
Any documentaries or things you can mention?
What does that mean?
it was a lot of things that were done by Dr. Stephen Greer.
Okay.
And a great deal of things. As a matter of fact, I hold the man in very high esteem. I feel it's very unfortunate that the UFO field seems to be so divided. It's almost as divided as the country is at this point in time. And I wish people were more unified. I've always been a person that drives toward unification of concepts, ideas. You can always work things out. You can always reach a compromise.
He kind of glossed over that Stephen Greer thing. But wow. So if you really boil it down, this all kind of does go back to Stephen Greer. Would I be here without Salvatore Pais? Probably not. And Salvatore Pais's work goes back to Hal Puthoff and Stephen Greer's stuff. And so, like, wow, if you really just look at this together, like if you really play it out, and just looking at all sides, like, could this all be some disinformation? If this is somehow disinformation, like, what would it require? It would require that Stephen Greer would have to be disinformation. He would have to be a government plant. So maybe if you think that he is, I don't think he is. But he would have to be some kind of government plant pushing this information and pushing information that's real enough that, like, Navy engineers are picking up on it and realizing, oh, this is legit, and looking into it. The only story that makes sense is that this science is real, and there's very smart people out there that have figured the science out and figured out that it's real. That's the story that makes sense, given all this information. I'm going to keep playing and not try to interrupt as much because I want to get through as much of this as we can.
Always. And I think everybody benefits as a result. Okay. The alternative is the enemy wins. When we fight amongst out and they already operating certain devices.
Okay, so they ask him here, I don't know if he believes it's human tech. He basically says human tech's kind of like Stephen Greer, but that there's alien tech. And anyway, I just
and then I hear these things about the reverse engineering craft, and then that thing bothers me because everything I've done is really based on Oliver Heaviside's version of Maxwell's equation.
Yep.
The 4 unknowns that electrical engineers have grown up to love and use. Thank God, because the original.
Okay, I'm going to skip through this too, because basically what he says here, I'll just explain it to you so we don't get copyright striked as well. And a lot of this is parallel to the interview I had with him, is that the stuff that he did was basically just took Heaviside, he took electrical engineering equations, or Maxwell, and he took, oh, look at this. Hello, is this my first Russian honeypot? Hit me up in the DMs, girl. He took Heaviside and Maxwell's electrical engineering equations and Einstein's general relativity, and he just combined them together. What did Hal Puthoff do? The exact same thing. That's all these guys are doing, is they're just taking electrical engineering and they're taking physics and they're mashing it together. And they're finding out 0-point energy is the answer. They all have their slight twist to it, but they're all finding out 0-point energy is the answer. And that means we can have figured it out. So this is an important key to the equation. It doesn't mean that we got this, that humans figured this technology out all on their own. How do we know? I don't know. How do we know? Till somebody shows us ET craft that we have possession of, we can't know. But he says, too, in this that we could have dug it up, or that, it could have crashed here. A lot of different options. Also, cat emojis are the way to my heart as well. Physics and cat emojis, everybody. So there's a lot. He believes also there's a lot of different options. So listening to this, his perspective is actually very similar to mine, which I think is cool because I highly respect Sal, and he's a Navy engineer. He's got way more pedigree than I do.
3D printed out of the quantum vacuum, because we can't seem to quite understand exactly, because, when you talk about chemical vapor deposition, the manufacturing techniques associated with making very small nanostructured heterolattices. My graduate work, for instance, is in topological material physics. And so we do know more than is generally acknowledged about how to manufacture those lattices, but we don't have a lot of control over where exactly the atoms go. We just spit them out, and physics takes over and it deposits them where it wants to deposit them in the lattice. So if you need them to be in extremely specific lattice points, and then you need to do layer after layer after layer to get these really novel behaviors, topological superconducting layers, topological insulative layers, Josephson junctions, and then one after the other.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how to do that. So does that get 3D printed somehow?
Fascinating. Okay. Well, we're getting deep quick. I want to just
whenever anyone says we don't know how to do that, that always triggers me. Triggers me every single time. Thank you very much, Gary Johnson. Appreciate you for your British pounds. Thank you. Because not knowing how to do something is just an engineering problem. And I think that humans can figure out basically any engineering problem that exists. If we have a superpower, that's what our superpower is that we are basically a very efficient quantum computer.
For the mass audience, kind of lay some scaffolding, lay the groundwork. So you mentioned Heaviside. Most people now, when it comes to kind of classical electrodynamics, go off of Oliver Heaviside's and simplification of Maxwell's equation.
Absolutely.
So where is conventional classical electrodynamics off, where you think you've found kind of a different branch of Heaviside? Because most people adhere to him, right?
This is not anything new. This is not new physics. This is a new perspective on all physics. All I've done was taking the Heaviside version of Maxwell's equation, coupled them with a harmonic oscillator, and shown that you get nonlinearity with respect to the angular frequency, either vibration and or spin, because as you well know, the mathematics is heavily similar.
Right.
And come up with on the second conditions, you get resonance conditions.
So you get these
energy amplification.
emergent phenomena. They're not immediately obvious
phenomena
under normal circumstances.
So let's break it down. What is a harmonic oscillator?
A harmonic oscillator, if you think of the best way to describe it is from Hooke's law, the whole idea of F equal minus K X.
A spring.
Exactly.
A spring oscillator.
Exactly.
That makes a sinusoid in XY.
Yes, sir. And then you just write, as you well know from Newton's second law, and acceleration, or M D.
How crazy is it? It really is this is all real, by the way, guys, is that when you really just boil it down, how you need to interact with this quantum energy. It's all about resonance and frequency. Yeah, everybody in the chat's got it, right? Resonance and frequency. What is a spring? A spring is an oscillator, much like a trampoline or much like a swing. So if you need strong analogies to understand these concepts, think of a swing or a spring or a swing. It's an oscillator that's going back and forth, or a trampoline. Boing, boing. So when we talk about the Casimir effect and pulling this energy out of the vacuum, what are we doing? We're using the trampoline method. Let the trampoline reset itself. Use the natural energy that's out there. But you have to, get into resonance with it. Why? I don't know. I don't want to explain why. It's just how the universe works, man. Same with breaking a glass. If you break a wine glass, you're getting into resonance with it with sound. You hit the right frequency, boom. Cracks. That's the secret. Turns out. I would not have thought that also several years ago. I would have thought that people that are into the resonance and what have you are the woo-woo people or what have you, but no, turns out they were right. So if you were one of those woo-woo people who's talking about resonance, well, pat yourself on the back. Pat yourself on the back.
X double prime dt square. The whole idea of ma equal this minus kx. From that results your harmonic oscillator.
So we're talking about derivatives from differential calculus, and this is how you go from y equals kx, Hooke's law.
Extremely simple stuff.
Are you combining that concept with Heaviside?
From there, what happens is from a simple scalar, as a matter of fact, I send you what we presented to the patent examiner, and you can have that with the podcast. You can actually, sure, absolutely. That's been already presented.
Bro, this interview was over a month ago. You didn't add that stuff there? I have it, and only for the sake of time, I'm going to skip it. But he's given all the papers. I mean, we've watched them all in previous interviews or previous stuff we've done.
That it's in the public domain, so it's considered non-governmental. The NAVAIR
That's Heaviside stuff. How do you get to those? Those that big of electric field size.
Again, it is in that PDF, and you can follow the math. It's extremely simple. But the whole idea is that you get from the scaling analysis, you get a simple relationship that shows that it must be correct because the electric field, that relationship, it gives you a relation. So the scaling analysis of the Heaviside version of Maxwell equation give you a simple relationship for the electric field strength, E, and also one for the magnetic induction, otherwise known as the magnetic flux density, also known as the B field. Well, from those two relationships, you can actually see that E max divided by B max equals C, equals the speed of light, exactly what Maxwell showed.
Yeah.
The whole idea.
Yeah.
So that must be correct. And when you couple the harmonic oscillator within those two relationships, you get something for the B field, which is amazing. It shows variance with respect to angular frequency squared. So in other words,
that's interesting. So now I'm tracking, because in your patent you use microwaves inside the.
So he was just talking about equations 7, 8, and 9 in the fusion patent. That's how much I know Salvatore Pais right now. And he's explaining the energy amplification and the B field, which is the magnetic field amplification effect that happens if you just manipulate the equations naturally. Not cheating, just combining electromagnetism and gravity through angular frequency, rotation, spin. So you're taking the same equations, you're just trying to apply the equations in the real world. And the real world is 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional, 5-dimensional.
The annular channel, and it's like you
to
call
vibrate.
it. Yes, to vibrate. Yeah,
right.
You called it a confined photoelectric effect.
That's
and
exactly
what I
what
found
it is.
interesting is the high temperature superconductor patent is necessary for the high frequency gravity wave patent.
They speak to each other
because there's a high Q factor associated with the high temperature superconductor.
But for some reason, the patent examiner did not even take that into consideration.
Sure.
Exactly what you said, because then
we learned what the Q factor was. You guys are learning so much physics tonight. Okay, Q factor. What is the Q factor? The Q factor is a measure of efficiency, energy efficiency, that is used in fusion primarily. If you're trying to get more energy out than in, they like to call it the Q factor. To me, I don't know how it's different than over unity or just the efficiency in general, but they came up with their own term. So the reason why high temperature superconductor is so huge is because normally it takes a huge amount of energy to cool a magnet to become superconductive. Normally they think you need to cool it down to like absolute zero, very, very, very low temperatures. So if you can have superconductivity at very high temperatures, then your Q factor goes way up. Now it becomes really, really, really efficient to do magical stuff, energy efficient. Becomes very energy efficient to levitate. Let's just leave it at that. Let's call it that. Hypothetically, it all of a sudden becomes extremely energy efficient to just levitate. Levitation at room temperatures. We can see levitation and magnetic locking at very low temperatures right now. Take that same effect and it's room temperature, and now you've got a hoverboard. Now you've got a hoverboard. You're going to put a force on it and it resists you.
Just by that simple argument, from an enablement point of view, he should have passed, or they should have passed the room temperature.
So what allows that frequency?
Dr. Victor Lacno, Russian. of the Russian Academy of.
And now I'm going to flex Victor Lochno, since I did my homework when Sal told me this name a year ago, wrote the paper, The Way to High Temperature Superconductivity. And he references Salvatore Pais in his patent and his work. And he basically says that we can find a critical breakthrough in room or high temperature superconductivity. The critical temperature for superconductivity is what they call it. I believe, I have to go back and look, with spin or vibration. I think is basically what he's saying. I think the other way that they can do it is they can make the metal like really thin as well. So anyway, there's some way to manipulate it. So that's why he's mentioning Victor Lochno. Oh no, not like this, chat.
It's exciting, and you're setting up that standing wave, and that's
what it's all. The patent examiner just refused to grant the patent. So
it was an incredible idea because you describe what is a proximity superconductor, probably also a topological superconductor.
From someone that actually has that knowledge. Thank you, Jack.
Yeah. So again, encased in a ceramic. And so it's the interfacial layer that is superconducting. That's where the current moves. And so when you've got these 100 terahertz microwaves inside the annular channel of your triangle patent, it's exciting, and you're setting up that standing wave. And that's what.
Interfacing. So this is where, even when you don't like someone, and I don't like this guy, apparently, you have to give him props when props are due. I think he just gave me the answer that I've been looking for the last year and a half. What this superconducting patent is doing, Salvatore's patent, it's setting up a superconducting interfacing channel. What is an interface? An interface is a way for two different systems to couple together, to lock together. So you create this interfacing channel. Now, why would that be important? Because like he says, you're setting up a standing wave. I'm going to repeat it one more time. I want you guys to pay very close attention to what they say right here. And this is another part of why I got so excited.
For conducting, that's where the current moves. And so when you've got these 100 terahertz microwaves inside the annular channel of your triangle patent, it's exciting, and you're setting up that standing wave. And that's
what it's all about. Resonance,
the W
energy amplification.
Why this blows up. Yeah.
That on Mason square is very important.
Yeah.
And for some reason, people refuse to see the mathematics speaks to them.
Okay. So setting up the standing wave and setting up the channel of superconducting current could theoretically, I haven't put this through AI yet, but I think this could theoretically explain what we see happen with the orbs. You see the orbs in terms of them being a sphere? Well, that's what we need. We need them to couple or decouple, whatever it is, from the rest of the region around them, the space around them. And we need them to be producing a standing wave inside of that ball of field of plasma. We need there to be a standing wave in there so they can achieve some stability. So this is, again, just more evidence, more proof for why what we see here with these orbs, it's basically Salvatore Pais's patents. That's why it's hard for me to believe he's not somehow connected to this, even indirectly. Like, there's got to be some connection here. Like, either he learned from whoever made these or something. I don't know what the timeline's like, but it's just too on point.
The physics. Are you worried at all about that huge B field and the surviving materials surviving it? Because
that's something we have to be aware of.
As you well know,
you have to be extremely careful, because usually when you go above 10 to the second, maybe even pushing 10 to the third Tesla, we're talking about tremendous.
Well, we've never even
yields on the
magnetic field measured in Tesla. We've never made a magnetic field any larger than 30 Tesla, 40 Tesla.
Usually
in CERN and gigantic.
I heard of something up to 120 Tesla, but that's a rumor.
Yeah, and the Earth's magnetic field is like a thousandth of a Tesla, or 10,000
so
of
how
a
would
Tesla.
you insulate materials from that size of magnetic field?
You wouldn't insulate it. You'd use something that this would all want to be synergistic. So you would want to use something that benefits in some way from exposure to that field rather than trying to fight physics. I think that's where really brilliant engineering comes in, is that you're not going to put a bunch of things together that are parasitically affecting each other in negative ways, and you're trying to finagle your design space to make it work. You'd put a bunch of things together that actually help each other work better.
So that makes me feel pretty bad for this video, because they basically said if you achieve this level of magnetic field flux, Tesla is how you measure magnetic field flux, then goodbye anything organic that's inside. So, but they also said that we've never really made magnetic fields that are that powerful. So it is all hypothetical. So let me point out what I just said, is that all of what we know about how powerful, like these super powerful magnetic fields, it's all basically hypothetical. We know they're very powerful. We know what magnets can do. But have we really jammed it up to 11 on the dial? Not really.
With their side effects.
Physics is not enough. The engineering of the physics trumps everything else.
Yeah.
Again, experiment trumps theory. Absolutely. Okay. Usually I define it as controlled motion of electrically charged objects, usually from solids to plasma, based on accelerated vibration and or accelerated spin, giving rise to extremely high energy densities. Hence, electromagnetic energy fluxes. However, it can also be thought of as the generation of high energy densities based on certain vibratory fields of plasmas.
Okay.
Cold plasmas. We're talking about plasmas that have been driven far from equilibrium.
Your xenon gas in the annulus that you kind of move it back and forth with your 100 terahertz alternating electric field.
The terahertz frequency.
Or was that the superforce? Oh, well, whatever.
Is an interesting field that should be looked into. But again, we're not here to educate and enlighten the enemy, so that's as far as I go.
Well, it is interesting, how put off.
Okay, so whoever knows about the terahertz frequencies, please put it in the chat. Thank you.
As talked about these kind of micron layers, magnesium bismuth, and he says that they, micro-sized waveguides for terahertz. And so
there's a reason. Look into the slide presentation that I presented at the 2019 AIAA SciTech. That presentation, please also post that in your podcast along with the patent examiner interview, those slides. It makes a lot of sense, but look very carefully, slides 4 to slides 9 in that particular presentation, and you'll see why the terahertz frequency is so important. It speaks something to that Dr. Eric W. Davis published in one of those DIA reports that I saw.
Teleportation.
More to do with a certain macro dimension.
A fifth dimension?
A fifth dimension.
Right. So there's I don't know how much you want to say, but there's a coupling factor between the electric field that you're setting up to generate high frequency gravity waves and this oscillatory behavior of the particles, which potentially polarizes the quantum vacuum and allows you, the analogy that I have used is, imagine you have a Ziploc bag that's full of water, but it's kind of sloppy. And you imagine you can push on it on one side and you set up a pressure gradient. So now you have the quantum vacuum doing work for you and pushing on you with its own pressure. And it has such a tremendous energy density, like 10 to the 44th, calories per cubic centimeter, or something bananas.
Okay. Yeah. So basically they're just talking about using gravity waves. Bravo. Okay. So here, I think this is the slides that Sal was just talking about. Don't worry, chat. I got the receipts every time, bitch. Okay, slides 4. I think there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4. RTSC, room temperature superconductor for your use on a hybrid something underwater craft. So transmedium craft, vacuum energy polarization, investigation of the quantum vacuum as a source of propulsion, estimated the very short scales of time and distance over which the quantum vacuum must be interacted with for extracting enough propulsive energy for relativistic interstellar flight. So here's the answer right here. There you go. right there. Does that look familiar? It should look familiar because it's something that I've been telling you guys basically on every single live stream and every single podcast, which is the only way to interact with the quantum vacuum is at this very small scales. So what he's saying is that you can only interact with the quantum vacuum with small scale, short scales of time and distance. So very small things and also very high frequency. Small and or high frequency interact with the quantum vacuum. Suggested that a system's inertia might be a consequence of the quantum vacuum, the ZPE behavior. Therefore, by polarizing the vacuum in the proximity of the system, imagine the system is your body, okay? Let me make this simple for you. The system is your body, and the inertia of your body, when you're moving your body through space, it is caused by the 0-point energy all around you, just like a fish in water. And so if you polarize the vacuum, you can reduce the mass of the object, which then changes the inertia. So if you can modify the mass, you can modify the inertia. If you make your mass 0, but you're still there, then you're in a bubble. You're in a bubble and you're ignoring inertia. Now you can move whatever speed you want to move. Boom. Mass reduction. At the end of the day, if you want to say mass reduction is not possible because you don't actually disappear your body, well, that's because we're talking about a bubble. That's what we're creating is a bubble. We're creating a bubble. You're inside the bubble. If you're displaced from the outside, then your mass to the people on the outside is 0. But you on the inside still exist because of Einstein's general relativity. You have your own frame of reference on the inside, and people on the outside have their own frame of reference. And sometimes they don't perfectly line up. It's called time dilation. It's weird, but it's real. Welcome to reality, chat. It's all a big simulation. Okay, polarization of the local vacuum energy state is analogous to manipulation and modification of the local space-time energy density. Let me repeat this again, because it's called Yahtzee. Chat, Ashton was right. Get used to it. All I did was read this a while back and realize that it was real. Saw the videos, realized it was real, put 2 and 2 together. Polarization of the local vacuum state, which we just said changes inertia and mass, is analogous. That means it's similar, or you can compare it to manipulation of the local space-time energy density. So if you manipulate the energy density, aka the 0-point energy, just like our trampoline. Remember our trampoline, chat? This is manipulating the energy density of space-time, jumping on the trampoline. So if you pull energy out to reduce the resistance, you can create extreme speeds. Now we can cheat. You know, the beauty of this physics is that not just that it's real, but that it's just looking at the same problem with a different lens. That's all there really is to it. That's why Sal said in this interview, it's the same physics through a new lens. That's all there is to it. Same physics, new lens, chat. Let's hit up a couple more donations real quick. Is that what Nikola Tesla quote was all about? If you want to find the secrets, yes, it is. I think that is. I mean, right? Doesn't that answer that question? You said it, Brent, not me. Although I did also say it. Casimir effect, not a K. Close enough. Deniable plausibility. Oh, yeah. No, this is a joke. Okay. Dad jokes. Honestly, this would be a good joke for one of those now and laters or whatever the things, Laffy Taffies, whatever the ones have the jokes in them. Someone should put that in there. Okay, let's try to get through some more of this.
Spin. Yeah. Oh. So in other words, you can accelerate even spin or accelerate in vibration, depending on which is easier from an engineering point of view. As you well know, when you spin something, even surpassing 10 to the 4 RPM, It's very hard to do so and keep this thing. So again, you might choose vibrate. I just chose to
I'm going to
polycrystalline, so you get grain boundaries and feature.
The key there was that you can use spin or vibration, and since spin is a big problem, then use vibration instead. Where do we see vibration? Oh, sound, frequency.
Stop at these grain boundaries, and so you start to get anisotropies. That's significant to manufacturing semiconductor materials, where we're doping these layers with different atoms. And we've been doping since the 1950s. I mean, this has been around some time, but the level of precision in semiconductor doping is 3 or 4 orders of magnitude lower than what we're talking about with these quantum heterostructured lattices, where you really need these big chromium and vanadium atoms that install their ferromagnetic ordering across the lattice. You need them in very specific lattice locations.
Jack, you're absolutely brilliant and right on. But let's bring it to a very simplistic, again, Occam's razor, simplicity and minimalism. What does superconductivity truly represent? A macroscopic quantum phenomenon.
Yes.
And it speaks directly to macroscopic quantum coherence. Look very carefully at slides 4 to 9 in the 2019 AIAA SciTech. A lot of people have gone over those slides as if there's nothing there. There's something of incredibly importance.
So how do you maintain coherence at macroscopic scales?
Not easy at all.
Condensates.
Because everything wants to decohere. Everything wants extremely cold temperatures. Again, the atoms being in this nice dance. Because again,
chat, this is just this is S tier. This is S tier. If you are a physics or engineering buff, like tonight, this is your night right now. Like we are hearing it from Salvatore Pais, Navy Space Force engineer, explaining superconductivity, explaining how it works, explaining the limits of it right now.
Because of electron Coulomb repulsion, these things don't want to pair up, and yet BCS theory says that they should. And Dr. Victor Lachno believes it's not the electrons but bipolarons. The whole idea of a bipolaron mechanism that occurs at these higher temperatures.
Which is a quasi-particle. It's a composite quasi-particle of 2 polarons. A polaron is itself a quasi-particle, which is...
And the Pais effect speaks directly to what? To this mechanism of room temperature superconductivity. How? It basically says once you form an alternating magnetic field, once you form this Bose-Einstein condensate that Victor Lachno speaks to, you can use a pulse current, again, an alternate current, to move it.
To manipulate it.
Room temperature superconductivity. And yet no one has touched on either the Victor Lachno.
Wow, chat. You can create a Bose-Einstein condensate. A Bose-Einstein condensate's a superconducting system at the macroscopic scale. That's what a Bose-Einstein condensate fundamentally is. So what he's saying here is we're trying to achieve something that's quantumly coherent on the macro scale. And resonance and standing waves might be one way where we can do that. Resonance and standing waves might be a way where we can achieve that. And then we can move it around by pulsing a current through it as well. But just the fact that we can move it around at all is huge. So he's really, at this point, if you haven't caught on, talking about how to create a plasma orb that we can move around and potentially make a UFO. And then when Jake was jumping in, he's talking about it like a lot of these people in the UFO community, they think that it's got to be like flying saucers. They're stuck in the flying saucer mode in their head, and they're not thinking like, oh, plasma orbs. Like, why are we working so hard? Why are we trying to make these like alien metamaterials that we don't have the material science to figure out how to produce? It's like we don't have the forges. Why are we trying to make swords? We don't have the forges to make them. And instead, somebody came along, and this is something that I never. Yeah, this is surreal. This is really surreal. I would have never thought plasma was the answer. It seems obvious in retrospect. Maybe plasma is the forge that's used to make the UFOs. Because it turns out we can manipulate plasma and the electron flow in this plasma. That's the natural medium. The plasma is the natural medium. Turn the plasma into a Bose-Einstein Bose-Einstein condensate and become superconductive at the quantum level. Because we're not dealing with a metal. We're not dealing with a solid material. We're dealing with just a ball of positively charged ions and negatively charged electrons. We just need them to move in a certain way. That's all we need. We can simplify it down to riding a bicycle. Once we find the right resonance, all we need to do is create a standing wave, or even if it's more complicated. What if we have to make 2 different standing waves? Great, we can do that too. All of this is actually not very complicated. And that's why Salvatore Pais made that clip earlier that I showed you guys. It says, this is potentially really easy. It's like the moment you understand the physics of it, making this is really easy. That's not even the hard part. Like any rogue nation is going to be able to create doomsday weapons. As opposed to, with nuclear weapons, we can at least have some control over it. But we're going to run into a situation where countries are trying to make doomsday weapons and we can't really stop them. Because it's just going to be easier than like nukes.
Paper or my patent. Thinking again, it's pseudoscience.
How would you do this?
So the reason generally you can't get superconductivity at high temperature is because the atoms in the material have all this thermal motion. They have all this thermal energy. And so the nature of superconductivity is that this thing called a phonon, which is a vibratory mode of an atom inside of a lattice, phonons facilitate the transfer of electrons through the lattice as Cooper pairs. So the Pauli exclusion principle only applies to spin 1/2 bosons. I know this is really deep, but what happens is when you force electrons close together, they behave as though they're a spin 1 particle, meaning Pauli no longer applies. And so they can both occupy the minimum ground state, so they can move together. So there's no degeneracy, there's no energy splitting. And so they move very efficiently through the lattice. Problem is, if this lattice is warm and all these atoms are vibrating randomly.
So what he just said there, guys, is basically in a superconductive material, it's like a highway. It's like you're on the freeway and you're just flying. Normally in a normal material, it's like there's no roads at all. You're just on the prairie grass with the rocks, right? That's what we're talking about when we're dealing with like superconductivity compared to normal conductive materials. Is that these superconductive materials, however we can achieve superconductivity, what we're basically doing is the electrons are flowing freely on the highway with no resistance whatsoever.
You can't get this coherent phonon behavior. In extremely novelly comprised lattices, you put atoms in just the right place such that these internal magnetic fields set up these roadways, stop signs, highways for current to flow, and you can get this behavior.
So it would involve, you would need to fabricate materials on an atomic level. You need to get sub-inch.
But not the Pais effect. The Pais effect does not speak to anything depending on chemical composition. That's why Dr. Victor Lagno.
See, this is what Sal keeps trying. Like all these UFO people, they love their fucking metamaterials. Sorry, guys, I've sworn like 3 times during this live stream. They love, you know what? It's rant time. These alien heads out there, chat, they love their little metamaterials. They love their little alien metamaterials. They're obsessed with it. I used to be on board with it. And one of the big things I learned researching, when you actually research, you don't need metamaterials at all for this. In fact, I would argue plasma is even more efficient. It's a more natural way to achieve these phenomenon than trying to jam metals together at the atomic level and make sure that the atomic lattice, guys, by the way, the lattice is basically like the crystal structure of molecules stuck together. So when they're talking about the lattice, they're talking about taking atoms, one atom at a time, combining them one atom at a time and forcing them stuck together, which of course that's like super difficult. Can we even do that? Like our microchip, that is essentially making a microchip. That's what we're doing with microchips, is sticking like one molecule together, one atom together at a time. We're almost to that level, but we're trying to do that. That's why I keep telling you guys microchips are that, basically. And then at some point, it might get more and more complicated to the point where we could make a flying saucer at the quantum level. But in the meantime, what's the simpler way to do it? Plasma, because plasma is not solid, right? But it's not gas either. It's something in between. In some cases, plasma is not always a Bose-Einstein condensate, but if you get your plasma to act like a Bose-Einstein condensate, then what do you have? Well, you have this. You have this. That's how you get these orbs to do this. You get your plasma to create a Bose-Einstein condensate, superconductive state. It's connected to the outside world, but kind of in a bizarre way, right? That's it right there. So that's how you do that. Okay. Let's listen to a little more.
He picked it up because he realized this is the solution to an active superconductor. One that's not passive. One that is not based on chemical composition, like the type 1A or the type 2 superconductors. This is basically, it can be done as long as this thing at any point in its structure has been superconducting. For example, that's why I chose lead zirconate titanate. All three components at very low temperatures are superconducting.
Sure.
And yet, because of the bipolar mechanism that Dr. Lagno, I believe, in his paper, it's just a 3-page paper, but on the 3rd page, he gives the mechanism and he speaks to the Pais effect, room temperature superconducting. He believes it'll work.
So these materials are superconducting in their natural state, even at room temperature?
Not at room temperature, at very low temperature.
He's describing conventional superconductors,
Right.
like YBCO and from
lead zirconate titanate, PbZrTi. These are the components of what they call a piezoelectric material.
You know, Townsend Brown spent the latter half of his career looking at piezoelectric material.
They're very important because one talks to, again, the whole idea that pressure induced what?
Cause electricity.
The electric field can also induce pressure changes.
In the back.
Ah. Why is piezoelectricity even a thing, guys? Piezoelectricity, you squeeze something like this ketchup packet and electricity comes out. This means that there's a relationship between pressure and electricity. How can that be? Oh, because gravity is a pressure force that's caused by 0-point energy, which is electromagnetic in nature. And remember, I gave you the analogy. What is the lattice structure? The lattice structure is the structure of what this is made out of. And what are we trying to do? We're trying to make a highway. Well, what if it turns out that we can squeeze this and we can make a highway? What if we squeeze this, or we squeeze this rapidly, vibrate it, and we force it to become superconductive, where now all of a sudden the electrons are just squeezing by at perfect efficiency? That's the concept that I've always understood from listening to Salvatore Pais try to explain how we can achieve superconductivity at high temperatures without metamaterials. Without metamaterials. Everybody is so stuck on their damn metamaterials because they love their aliens. But at the end of the day, we don't need the metamaterials. The metamaterials we will get to one day when we get our Star Trek replicators that everybody's got in their house. But until that day, we need the plasma. We need the cold plasmas and the cold fusion, 0-point energy. We just need the free energy for everyone. And then we'll see if we survive long enough to get the Star Trek replicators with the metamaterials at the atomic level.
Well, I discovered something very interesting. The Townsend Brown ceramic insulator of choice was very important.
It's on the chalkboard in videos of him.
And yet they have dismissed his
This is
work.
what changed my mind about
They have
Townsend Brown.
dismissed his work.
Winter Haven.
And they have dismissed his work.
And he says,
Charlotte, we shall.
do you think that what you're looking into has already been discovered and then some in kind of private?
Do you guys think that somebody forces Jesse Michaels to wear shirts that are 3 sizes too big for him? I can't get over how huge that shirt is. Is it just me? This is what happens when I don't drink, chat. I get too introspective. I mean, I don't know.
The quarters, or do you think that you're deriving something fundamentally?
Absolutely not. I do not think I'm an original in this at all. So as a matter of fact, the physics that I speak to was available in the 1890s, and there were great physicists at the time.
So
great brains. I'm 100% sure that I'm not an original in this. Not at all.
Many interesting
It's just
things.
the way that I address the Pais effect, especially from the room temperature superconductor. Now, the Pais effect driven room temperature superconductor, I do believe I'm an original in.
I would believe that.
And Victor Lagno attests to that. He says, think what that would mean.
Terrifying. I mean, you...
Imagine making a plasma compression fusion device.
Here we go.
Imagine making a plasma compression fusion device, something compact. Now, in what artificial intelligence domain would cybernetics couple with if you were to use such a device? Say such a device was operational. It could be made operational in a small footprint, a power source, something like Iron Man's reactor. Could you imagine what you would use that in? Why would the IEEE Journal of Cybernetics be interested in that particular work? Think what that would mean.
Terrifying. I mean,
terrifying.
There's so many ways. I mean, and
Did Sal just say that the robots have taken over? I think Sal just said that the AI have won, chat. We're only going to go for another 10 minutes or so. So let's see what other stuff we got. I'm going to let him play a little bit here.
enormous energy densities are terrifying in every way.
But imagine an army of those. What
he did
they
say.
could
He's talking about Terminators, bro. Chat, Sal just said AGI's here. He said the Terminators are here. I can read between the lines. It's already too late. Terminators are here. They've already achieved the plasma technology. They're already making more Terminators. I hope they don't look like Arnold because it'll just be too ironic. Make it look like some other big tough guy. Yeah, see, finally, someone with the cat emojis. Thank you, chat.
Leave it there, Jesse. Trust me on that. Leave it there.
It's freaky.
And it's very freaky.
We're cooked, chat.
Again, the fusion of ideas, cross-domain,
Yeah.
the ability of using information from different disciplines. That's in the open literature. That's why OSINT can be so incredibly important in the right hands. In cross-domain technologies, interdisciplinary, cross those. OSINT could prove extremely dangerous.
It's like so not dangerous. And it's to me, it's absurd from an American national security standpoint that like it would all be controversial to destigmatize him. You know, he's the scientist. He's also a Navy scientist.
He was a great man.
Great man.
He is
He
a great man.
stigmatized his own work, probably for good reason, because at the time, I think it was the tip of the spear.
Absolutely.
And it was this Cold War secrecy era. But just based on this conversation, it sounds like there's a history where like we haven't had contact. Or maybe if we have had contact, at least it's ephemeral enough where like our modern historical perspective, I believe we've had contact.
Subdimensions. It has problems.
Okay, anyone who's sitting there triggered that I just get past the psychic power stuff, well, too bad. You can watch it on your own.
But the general notion of higher dimension, it solves some problems. It explains the hierarchy problem. It explains the gravitational weakness problem. Why is gravity, 31 orders of magnitude weaker than the strong nuclear force or something?
And remember what Kaluza thinks of electrical charges. What motion in the fifth time.
Wait. Was that a Kaluza-Klein explanation? We got to go back. Okay. So, of course, Kaluza-Klein makes a entrance in here as well. All the science I've been telling you guys. Kaluza-Klein, zero-point energy by Hal Puthoff. I don't know. Superconductive stuff by Salvatore Pais. Cold fusion. Cold fusion, guys, really is actually, if you want to really cheat and never be wrong, just say cold fusion is anything that's not hot fusion. Because that makes cold fusion like muon, catalyzed fusion, other forms of catalyzed fusion, inertial confined fusion, electrostatic, magnetically confined fusion, pinch fusion, all that stuff is all cold fusion.
Some vacuum.
Sure.
But is it at a superforce level? Is that at the Planck scale?
Right.
Are we talking about, the superforce? We're talking about 10 to the 44 Newton.
It has to be in a fifth dimensional state.
It would have to be.
Which Ken Shoulders talks about fifth dimensional space for exotic vacuum objects.
Yeah, I suppose it doesn't have to be. It's not necessarily required that we have higher dimensional.
Jesse, bro, how can you just drop? Jesse goes, just like Ken Shoulders mentioned with EVOs, exotic vacuum objects, a fifth dimension. Yes. Like this is basically me, like this interview is basically like just me trying to explain all the science to people in one go. Yes. Like Ken Shoulders said with EVOs. Yes. The ether. Yes.
No spaces. I mean, there could always, so Kaluza-Klein, compactified subdimensions. It has problems, but the general notion of higher dimension, it solves some problems. It explains the hierarchy problem. It explains the gravitational weakness problem. Why is gravity, 31 orders of magnitude weaker than the strong nuclear force or something?
And remember what?
Wait, Kaluza-Klein explains why gravity is weaker? Or okay, than the strong nuclear force? Okay. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna have to check that out. That's another. I just got another like arrow in the quiver. That was like another super powered arrow in the D&D games you get. Arrow of insightfulness. Wow.
Kaluza thinks of electrical charges. What motion in the fifth dimension?
Really?
How interesting.
Fascinating. It was interesting.
Fascinating.
I was reading from Frontiers of Propulsion Science by Eric Davis.
Great book, by the way. Eric W. Davis, no matter what he says on my physics, the man must be congratulated for that book, just for that book alone.
I brought my copy.
Him and Mark Millis are amazing, but you can tell that the real forte behind the physics is Dr. Davis.
Well, he says,
My hat off to him.
he says something around the Bible-Brown effect, which he believes, and that was from the book. If you take it at face value, that's, just a, coronal wind or ionic wind, and it's not actually, a tie between electromagnetism and gravity. But I think at one
Nah, Eric Davis is disinfo. When are we building a prototype? I'm not sure. We'll see. Aristotle, thank you very much, though. Appreciate that. Joanna K, happy Friday. Thank you very much. Morky, maybe you've already addressed this, but intuitively, you would have thought 6 orbs. At first, I thought 6 orbs, but why? All you need is a destination. You've already got the geometry figured out on the input side. You just need to know where I'm supposed to come out on the other side. So that's the reason why 4. You just need 1 more. But that's what funny thing you said that when I first thought about it, I thought, oh, why not? Should there be 3 orbs on the other side? But you don't need a convergence on the other side. You just need this thing to come out somewhere. Sunshine Live, did Jake Barber pick the wrong week to stop stiff and glue? Why does he blink? Let's be nice to Jake. He could be telling the truth, guys. Deniable plausibility. Are lightsabers made of plasma? Maybe in the future they will be. Screaming Lee, thank you very much. Who's going to put this talk to work? Great question. Hopefully one of you guys. Hopefully we inspire some people. How do magnets work? How does magnetism work? And then Mark Scott, thank you very much. Huge donation, brother, for science. Appreciate you, man. I've got the best supporter.
point, he says you would need a 5th dimensional space to connect EM and gravity if this were to actually work. So exactly. Very interesting.
I think fundamental.
Okay, so
I don't know about.
Yes, we need an extra dimension. Yes, that's what we've been talking about. That's what the 0-point energy influencers are all about. Thank you guys very much. And also Brady, moist episode, bro. You're really tickling the vacuum tonight. We're tickling it. We're tickling it. It's getting moist.
It's occurred to me maybe it's curvature gravity and torsional gravity.
Could be.
Interesting.
I know.
It could be different explanation of
encouraging him, but
well, no, I've come around on those. I never fully ruled.
Rogan says that he believes Lazar.
Yeah.
So do I. I believe Lazar is not saying.
Okay, believe Lazar.
Yeah, well, we assumed, right, this like binary angels and demons or angels or demons.
Right.
But
There's no gray zone.
well, if you have a hierarchy of being, it's likely more of a Cambrian explosion, more diversity.
You can see these novel behaviors in the book.
Yeah.
You have average behavior, you have average outcomes. And so he's making an analogy to that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have like
Yeah, this guy, alien scientist hates Bob Lazar. I don't know why. Some of these guys really hate Bob Lazar. Does never really came off as like a grifter type to me. I mean, maybe he's wrong, but I don't know.
dynamic law around that.
Right.
And then it does seem like all these exotic effects I get into are like a result of like quote unquote high energy physics. Or like extremely granular manipulation of, materials, whatever.
Yeah, we're going to skip ahead of this because a lot of this is just repeats of stuff that I've already told you. Nikola Tesla, you guys know that this all goes back to Nikola Tesla. We've talked about it all the time. Let's listen to a couple more minutes of future technology. And then the last little bit's the part I've already showed you.
Scary shit, if it's true. It's because the implications of.
But so do you think that was a UFO crash? You don't know.
I don't know.
But like in 1933, you don't have some sophisticated bell on deck that you're building. It's like need to brownie.
Again, the Pais effect, 1890s physics.
Okay. So you think people like maybe Gerloff figured this out?
What I'm worried about is Walter Bosley, the friend of Dr. Joseph Farrell. Walter Bosley, the whole idea of ninja. Who the fuck were these guys? The airship, quote unquote mystery. What's going on here? Because that's around Heaviside Science. That speaks to the Pais effect.
But that's a really quick translation from physics.
Well, that's interesting. So Sal's interested in this whole idea of the airships. Like maybe the airships were anti-gravity devices, and this idea that they had were just simple hydrogen blimps that blew up. Maybe that was disinfo. That's pretty interesting. Because what Sal said there, guys, is huge. I'm gonna have to look at this airships thing. It seems a little silly, but you know what? Like I said, I do not discount anything. There's evidence. I'm willing to believe it. What Sal just said so big though is that these Maxwell's equations go back. Some of this stuff goes back to the 1890s. So even when people are saying oh, well, what about the Foo Fighters in the 1920s? Well, that was still 30 years after people had already figured out these equations and the math. So this science goes way back. So, and I'm not trying to like, again, this is not to poo-poo the aliens idea. Aliens can be real. In fact, if this science is real, there's almost certainly aliens. Like almost certainly must be aliens. Not just because we would have potentially got this technology from somebody else, but because if we can teleport through space and time, distance isn't a problem anymore. And there's a lot of planets out there. So there's definitely aliens somewhere. The bigger question, if we can teleport, is why are there not more aliens teleporting to us all the time? It's a question for another live stream.
To engineering. You think the 1890s airships?
There was some
terrestrial
engineering geniuses back there. Look at Nikola Tesla.
But that would just be wild. That's beyond belief to me.
What if it's all fucking...
It's beyond belief to me, too. Honestly, that Jesse and I can agree. It's beyond belief to me, but you know what? I've had my mind blown several times in my life already. Maybe the airships will be anti-gravity vehicles. You know what? Screw it. Let's just roll with it.
Connected.
You think it could all be human stuff from the 1890s on?
All of the records could be gone, you know?
I mean, that's just a crazy cover-up.
And just use the AT craft kind of like... Because they never... Again, I believe their fucking craft touches on manipulation of the superforce.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you do that? How do you manipulate something at a planet scale?
Keep that secret for 140 years. That seems great.
They also didn't have a lot of the materials technology advances yet. You know,
sometimes survival makes you crazy.
They would need some sort of parapsychological root access to, control it. They would need the mind stuff.
Sure. That
in order to also.
How do you hide something for 140 years? Well, they've done a pretty good damn job of this anti-gravity stuff for at least 80 years. And then he goes, well, you would need some mind control. What do you think you guys do all day when you watch TV, cable TV? What do you think the television was created for? What do you think social media was created for? All of these things are brainwashing tools. They're meant to make you think inside of a box that they want you to think inside of. You become the perfect prisoner when you don't question your reality. Don't question anything. Don't question your reality. Just consume, work, and consume. That's what we're taught to think. And anybody that goes against the orthodox, they're shunned. They're told they're a quack, they're a crank.
Possibly a brotherhood of the occult.
Yeah, something like that, like a breakaway civilization. Like that.
Breakaway civilization.
Arriving at some insights.
Read up on Dr. Farrell's ideas on a breakaway civilization. Also Dolan. Don't forget Richard Dolan.
But who in the 1890s would have been privy to Heavyside's insights in a way that allowed them to finance the building of, these exotic craft?
No, there's some powerful families back then. I'm not going to name names. These are still extremely powerful. Put it this way. It's much better that we know certain names, but we don't know the...
I love how he does. That's such a great... I might have to... If somebody can snip that part in the video, where he's just like, they're saying like, who would have been powerful enough? He's like, there were some powerful names. 150 years ago, there were some powerful names. What do you mean, who would be powerful enough? It was easier then than it is now. The wealth was more centralized then than it is now. Yeah, like Rockefellers, like, bro, at Carnegie Mellon, like, what are you talking about? Who would have done this? What are you kidding me? You guys not understand? There's like, you guys get there's a reason why I don't go out here like blabbing about various family names, because that's how you get yourself killed. Those are the people that will end you without a second thought. Same reason why I don't go after like the board of directors at Lockheed Martin, because there's going to be a lot of crossover. There'll be a crossover event. That's why I keep it in the realm of physics and science and conspiracy and things like that really don't go after very much specific people. But if they come after me on social media, I'm going to troll the shit out of them. I don't care what their last name is. It can be Mellon. Doesn't matter to me. So I think that's a good part to end the stream tonight. So guys, there's a link to the full video. You can watch it. I definitely encourage you to watch it, promote it, share it for other people. It's a great interview. I mean, he just lays out everything that we just need to like get our head around. 0 point energy disclosure, guys, 2025. It's destined to be. So as a quick cool down, I've got one more video. This is our moment of Zen video before we close down. I love watching people get red pilled in real time.
I just want to show you something.
Polarity on YouTube and on X. Polarity is his name. Check out his stuff. Check out his channel. He was reading the and actually, let me make sure I hit the donate. Okay, we got all the donations. He was reading the 4chan whistleblower posts on 4chan that we're going to go over on Monday, and just gets red pilled in real time. It's crazy. Maybe he was already a supporter, but here we go.
That this sounds like, and you may know what I'm about to show you right now. And I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to try and find the video as quick as I can, because this kind of sounds really wild. I'm sorry, I didn't expect to bring this in, but, and look, people are going to hate me for this. There are people out there who are going to be really upset, but is what he has just explained there, this? Oh my God, hang on. I'm getting there, I swear to God. Why can't I drag it from here? Okay, there we go. Yes, that's right. I'm talking about the MH370 videos. I'm just going to show this one. Look, I know people are really upset already. It's wild. When you even mention this, that this could be real on Twitter, it's so crazy. You get like a brigade of people that always pop up on these MH370 threads going ham, trying to discredit it. And look, I understand it's crazy, the idea that these orbs teleported a plane away. But I mean, if you agree that the UFO phenomenon is real, then, like, you know, I feel like this is how people go down the rabbit holes and can end up crazy, because once you realize that reality isn't exactly what you've been told, it's like, okay, what else isn't? And
I was muted. Once what he just said there, don't say mute in my chat. How dare you, chat? What he just said was so important, because once you go down this rabbit hole, once you realize what we see in this video is real, you start to question what is real and what's not real anymore. This is why people actually go crazy. People literally go crazy. It's not just a joke when they say you go down this rabbit hole and you go crazy. A lot of people are going to literally go crazy when they realize what we see here is real. Keep that in mind. It's huge. That's why I wanted to leave you with this moment of Zen. I'm going to play it out.
I'm just going to put this up here, and I'm going to just read through that one more time. This is going to play on a loop. By our analysis, the physics involved suggests a theoretical possibility of large-scale field displacement. The arrays detected what we called quantum field bubbles around these objects. So these objects are able to... And look, I'm not a fucking scientist, okay? So if someone thinks I'm interpreting this wrong, let me know in the comments. But this is what it sounds like to me, that these objects, these orbs, are capable of generating large-scale field displacement or quantum field bubbles, as this person claims, around objects. So zones where conventional physics temporarily cease to function. Is this video playing properly? I think it is. Or maybe not, but okay, you can still see it. The quantum acoustic signatures we measured during actual aircraft encounters showed momentary phase matching between the object and the aircraft's magnetic profiles. Theoretically, this mechanism could create a mobile threshold point, treating it as an emergence event in reverse. Is that what this is? Because the plane's not emerging, it's doing the opposite. It's going in reverse. It's disappearing. And there are these orbs creating this. Dude, look, I don't know if someone's already seen this and connected these dots, but this is kind of wild, right? This was not a part of the show, and I'm a little...
Wow. Okay. Whenever I see something like that, you know we're doing a live stream on that. So I spent like an hour after work before this live stream trying to figure out how 4chan works. And so Monday, we're going to go through that whole thread of this supposed whistleblower. That was their response to these videos. Seemed pretty credible to me. And I'll explain my rationale for why I think that. But I think it's going to be great. Okay, guys. Avi Loeb interview Sunday. Trailer is coming at you soon, guys. In fact, let me look and see if I have it. I still don't have it. I'm gonna have to hit up my people. Okay, guys. Trailer's coming at you soon, guys. Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Avi Loeb. Love you guys. Peace out, MH370X. Have a great night. We'll see you on Sunday for the interview. Peace, y'all. Where's the one?
In the fields where the skies are wide, talking about a journey through the cosmic ride. Einstein and Thorne, they set the stage for a trip through time across the space age. Wormholes connect distant points in space, traversable paths to a far-off place. No black holes pull, no crushing weight, just a cosmic tunnel to a distant gate. Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow. We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow. Exotic matter, negative energy's the key to stabilize the wormhole for you and me. Quantum vacuums squeeze so tight, creating conditions for this wondrous flight. Static fields and lasers in the lab they play, generating forces in a new kind of way. Gravitational squeezing, Casimir's force, negative zones we need to stay the course. Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow. Thin shell formalism plates so fine, spherical geometry we realign. Energy conditions that we must defy. For a stable wormhole, let's give it a try. Forces balancing the plate, creating the throat, open the gates, from Earth to the stars in a single bound, a shortcut through space profound. Engineers and dreamers hold the key to future worlds and what we could be. With science in hand, we forge ahead through the cosmic paths that we now tread. We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow. From the fields to the stars, we break the chains. Understanding the universe, we make the gains. Lil Hula Crunk shines, bringing truth to light. Through his music, we'll explore the night. With wormholes and stargates, our path is clear.